Andy, I had the colossal blunder for when you're preparing to go places. So I'm back up in Pennsylvania. So we have my dad's services tonight and tomorrow. And I got everything planned, everything prepared. Of course, my wife is packing for our whole family, and I just have to worry about myself, right? So
Right.
that's, classic cue the male stereotype. But the all the things that I couldn't forget, I forgot. I forgot my suit back hanging up in my closet. It was there. I saw it when I was getting ready to pack the car. I saw it, I saw it, I saw it. And I was like, oh, I just can't forget this. And I forgot it. So now today, Andy, instead of kind of going back over to the house and helping to get things, I have to, and I'm in Gettysburg. There's not exactly men's clothing stores all over the place. So I have to travel 30, 45 minutes away to find a suit store and try to find I'm not quite sure Eddie Bauer is going to cut what I need. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's to be fair, Dave, you're a little distracted. You've been logging a lot of miles the last couple of days. There's a lot going on, obviously. So, I'm sure everybody there has a little bit of grace if you happen to not be in the perfectly fitting suit.
Yeah, thankfully my family's not like the fashion sense of like of the fashion setters of the world. So I think I'll be able to get by, but I'm just disappointed in myself. But that's all, all fun. So all good. So all right, Andy. Oh, where do we start today? I got some NFL draft stuff. I want to give you a quiz on the
Okay.
NFL draft a little bit, if you were selecting. But then also, I think we probably have to start with the fucking chaos that was from the Oval Office on Friday with Zelensky and I guess the combination of Trump, Vance, and some fuckhead reporter. Um,
Yeah, I know where
uh,
you're going with that, and just to be clear, that douche is not a reporter. We'll get into that, but I'm sure you've got thoughts on it. So let's.
Well, yeah, I should have put in air quotes reporter because you're right. He's this new brand of media that I think got invited. I think is that where you're going to go, Andy?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we'll
yeah,
discuss.
yeah.
We'll discuss this.
Okay. All right. So for everyone who didn't see what happened, I think I've never seen, I mean, I'm 50 years old. I talked about this before, but I don't think I've ever seen a sit-down Oval Office interview that erupted the way this one did, where, and I don't know if it was the back and forth with Zelensky and Trump, and then it was the JD Vance attempting to um, dictate terms or set the rules or you didn't say thank you enough type of thing.
Yeah,
Bend the knee and then we'll consider you.
yeah.
Um, I don't even know where to go. This is such a fucking colossal embarrassment
It's
that, look, I'm not saying you can't disagree with the individual, but man, that played out just as everyone said it would. And now all sides are kind of quickly trying to recover from it. So, thoughts on that when you saw it on Friday, Andy?
Dave. It was insane. I mean,
Insane.
it was like that should never have occurred. One, I mean, obviously, that was a coordinated, planned activity from the White House, right? From the, slap into the arm from JD Vance to Donald Trump afterwards, like, good job, big fella. Just the whole thing was clearly like they went in knowing they were going to bring up some of those specific talking points in a specific manner, and then things escalated. I think by design, but they escalated because Zelensky, I think one felt uh, set up, right, and all of a sudden he's attacked, right, he's put in this ambush, and he's trying to defend himself. It's this horribly difficult situation to play out in front of the media the way they did. And it was just embarrassing. It was embarrassing for all sides. I mean, for
Yeah, yeah.
America, for Ukraine, for everybody. But it was such a embarrassing moment for the United States of America to lead that conversation, to attack an ally, to parrot sort of the attacks of Russia, to support the Russian agenda publicly, right? And then to bring in these media personalities. If I recall, the AP and Reuters were not included in this media session, right? Because we want to make room, like you said, for the new media. Dave, who is this new media? Who are these people? So let's look at this guy, right? The voice you heard at one moment was somebody yelling out in the Oval Office to Zelensky, why don't you wear a suit? You're in the highest level of this country's office and you refuse to wear a suit. I just want to see, do you own a suit? One, like, who the hell's yelling that out, right? Two, there's historical precedent for exactly what Zelensky is doing, right? One, who was this guy? Dave Brian Glenn, right? He's a conservative commentator for Real America's Voice. Dave, I don't know if you know this, he happens to be Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, right? That's the high quality.
Cubitch, Andy, Cubitch. Please call her the
That's
right
right.
term.
He is Kubich's boyfriend, right? Kubich, formerly married, all of a sudden was no longer married, and this is supposedly part of the reason why. This fine, upstanding American, right, trolling with these comments like, "Why aren't you wearing a suit?" Right? Zelensky's not wearing a suit like Churchill in World War II didn't wear a suit. He wore a combat type uniform in solidarity with his troops who were out fighting and miserable, right, defending their nation every day. And Zelensky has worn this outfit consistently in solidarity with his troops. So he's out on the front lines with them, as he has been, or he's somewhere else advocating for them. And so for these fat bastards, Dave, who have never worn the American uniform, who've never served with a patch on their shoulder, who've never done anything outside of interest for themselves, right, to serve their nation, to come together in a coordinated attack to slam a guy, whether you agree or disagree with what he's doing, it's just embarrassing. It's just absolutely embarrassing. So, I mean, screw this guy, right? Screw this guy. And the attack was disgusting. I mean, the whole thing was disgusting all around. It was embarrassing of the world stage. And I was grateful to see Europe quickly come out and stand with Ukraine, saying, hey, you are not alone. We stand with you. We're fighting with you, and so forth. I mean, world leaders from across Europe instantly jumping in. What an embarrassing moment for American leadership. I was genuinely embarrassed.
Yeah, I think that's the right word for you. And for all those people who are coming up and saying Zelensky disrespected the Oval Office and he never said thank you. Again, these are just peddling lies, more lies, lies after lies, because I think all the evidence is out there in the public forum for everyone to see. Um, it just, Andy, I don't know about you, but like when I joined the military, one of the reasons I joined is to fight for freedom, not just of my country, but for those who couldn't, who could otherwise could not do that. And everything about what happened to Ukraine is why I would have, gladly have deployed and moved forward. Now, I know that's not always the case with all soldiers and all people who join. They join for various motivations. But if we're not doing this for Ukraine, then why not? I mean, what do we do? What are we doing? What do we stand for as a country? And I think that's one of the core questions that our country's mindset is changing. And I'm not sure I'm 100% behind that. I struggle with that because I do feel like we have a responsibility. We wanted this responsibility for all those years to set that stage, and now we're struggling with that. So this really causes me a lot of concern, and it causes me a lot of heartburn. So when I see this, I'm embarrassed. I think that's the right word for that. And I'm frankly, it just it makes me angry. So I don't know, Andy. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, Dave, even if somebody, I mean, look, there's a lot of, I was writing about this yesterday. That's why I was having a hard time focusing yesterday, but I was trying to put some thoughts together. And Americans are not necessarily, you know, super enthused about supporting Ukraine, right? But far more Americans support Ukraine than Russia. And to just see world leaders, to see this happening in the Oval Office, just the absolute disrespect of an ally standing in opposition to one of the world's greatest bullies is just remarkable. I mean, there was a time, Dave, when Democrats were considered the lefty, loony, communist sympathizers, and Ronald Reagan's Republicans were full of Red Dawn vitriol for the maniac activities of the Soviet Union. And to see the Republican Party today just giving love to Vladimir Putin and Russia and humiliating an American ally standing in opposition to Russian aggression is truly unbelievable. It is just unbelievable. But I'll stop there. I know we got other things to cover,
Yeah.
but it's amazing.
No, I think I'm kind of gonna bleed it over. Just we can stop at mid section and go through another thing, but it brings up like America's for sale, Andy. That's the what I feel I'm seeing. And again, what parroting the talking points and then seeing the Russian media come out and say, see the ways that like everything built upon one another. This is a classic information operation. And if you don't know much about it, everyone, please do some research and look into it. But Putin has played this president, the vice president, and all the leaders to a point where, yeah, like I've seen political cartoons, and I thought political cartoons were dead, but then there have been a lot of good ones that have come out where it's, Ukraine on the one side, and then China, Russia, and the US on the other side.
Yeah,
And that's an embarrassment, Andy. I mean, and everything we've seen now from the administration with regards to Russia, like they're going hard against China. China tariffs, China targeting of China cyber capabilities. You know what's been omitted from a lot of that work? Russia, Andy.
yeah.
Russia's been omitted from their cyber capabilities are just as dangerous. Who is CISA's been very hard against them and some of the other countries, and now all of a sudden Russia's omitted from a lot of that language. Why is that? Well, I mean, I think favor's been curried. So this is a hard because again, everyone sees behind the curtain. Everyone sees where we are with Putin and who he is. Everyone but one person who's in for it for himself. And so I don't know. It is a hard time, Andy.
Hey, but George W. Bush looked into Putin's eyes and he saw a soul in there. So, from Bush's lips to Trump's actions, it's good to know that America's on point with who's good in the world. What happened to the good old days when Democrats were commies, Dave? What happened to those
Yeah.
days? What is going on in America today? It's amazing. All good points. Everything you said was
Yeah.
that's right on. I mean, we are in a strange time of transition, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's a temporary transition because look, Russia is not the world's friend, right? And I
No.
since we're staying on this for a minute, I want to say the Russian people like are not the issue. Right? I want to be clear. Like I
Yeah.
had the
Yeah.
privilege, and a lot of fun serving alongside Russian soldiers in Kosovo. I never expected to be doing that. It was not in my plan when we deployed to Kosovo, but there I was in 2000, 2001, sleeping at Russian forward operating bases, playing with Russian weapons and equipment and trading t-shirts and mocking one another, pulling each other's vehicles out of stuck situations, serving alongside these guys as they were getting shot by Albanians because the Albanians hated them, right? The Russian people, good people. They just want to live their lives and enjoy themselves. It is the Russian regime and Putin's long reign over that nation as a pseudo czar that is the problem. And so when we say that Russia is not our friend, it's not the Russian people. It is their corrupt and filthy government. And right now, the American government is not a friend to the American people either, right? I mean, there are corrupt and bad governments all around the world. The issue is Russia's government is terrible and they are a bully around the world and they are harming a lot of people around the world. And we're advocating for that. We are facilitating that through our actions, and it's
Mhm.
embarrassing. All right, now I'll shut up.
Okay, yeah, so no, that I think that's appropriate, Andy. I think this is look, if Andy and I seem to be struggling a little bit, it's because we are. Like, frankly, this is not the country we grew up in. And again, if anyone's listening here and saying, well, get that fuck out of our country or whatever, that's we believe our country is better than that, and we believe our country should fight for and I say fight, there's a lot of ways to do that, right? You can stand up, you can vote. Please get out there and vote next time. But I think it's just also important that I think as a country, we should stand for values. And I think that's something that is lacking right now. That what are we actually fighting for? We trying to find the $5 savings in your Social Security, or are we actually looking at, the corruption at the highest levels of awarding contracts or not paying contracts when you do award them, and currying favor to billionaires, and ensuring that they're not appropriately taxed because you think somehow that they're going to generate jobs in this country, when in fact we've seen that history doesn't show that at all.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the things that we get concerned about when we do this. And for all those who may be listening who are like, fuck those guys, like, look, I think, again, really question what you're thinking, talking about, and whether that's the country you want to be moving forward. And if not, there are consequences for that, right? And I think a lot of people, we talked about this last time, Andy, those people who now have regret because voters remorse. And I don't think it's as big as, obviously some people say, but there are people out there who are like, I didn't think it was going to happen to me,
Yeah. Right. Right.
so anyway, I know we went really long on that, Andy, but maybe we'll catch up with it here on another spot here, Andy. So okay. All right. Let's go to see, it's our last segment already, but maybe we'll take this one a little bit longer, Andy. I
All
want
right.
to hit two things. So NFL Combine wrapped up.
Okay.
The Combine is a little tough because, you know, not everybody joins it. There's some people who are going to be coming out that I don't think can. I think they recently opened it up to juniors declaring for the draft, but it used to be for only a certain amount of people. But now it's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
We saw a big trade happen yesterday. Debo
Yeah.
Samuels, who the wide receiver running back combination from the San Francisco 49ers, who was such a big weapon for them, was traded to the Commanders for a fifth round draft pick. I was surprised by that. That was crazy. But we've also seen now, quarterbacks who get out there. But the top two quarterbacks weren't there. So because they'll throw at their pro day when they're in their temperature controlled areas, and they're throwing to people that they're familiar throwing to. And I think that's the distinction. But let me, Andy, I want to do this little fun little thing with you. Okay, I'm going to remind you who the top five teams are here.
Okay.
Actually, let me go through the top 10. You have Tennessee, Cleveland, the New York Giants, New England, Jacksonville at five, Vegas Raiders at six, Jets seven, Panthers eight, New Orleans at nine. And then the Bears at 10. So if I go through those teams, clearly Tennessee and Cleveland need quarterbacks. The Giants need a quarterback. So the top three teams need quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The Patriots and Jaguars don't need a quarterback. Raiders do need one. Jets need one. Panthers don't. Saints, yes. And Bears, no. So about, half of the teams need a quarterback. So now let me read you. There's Cam Ward and Shador Sanders. Those are the top two quarterbacks that are expected to come out, or that are expected. Let me read you the next five that played at the combine. And let me tell you, one, have you ever heard of these guys? One. And two, would you take them if you were one of those top 10 teams or those five teams that need it? So let's go with number one. The rated number one quarterback out of the combine by some outlets was Brady Cook of Missouri. Ever heard of him?
Never heard of him.
Okay. All right. I watched the SEC because my son plays there, or my son's team's there, but Brady Cook is not somebody who I would pick with that either. Jackson Dart from Mississippi, Andy, another SEC team. Ever heard of him?
Or I've heard the name. I don't know anything about him, but I've heard the name.
Yeah, I think he was a Southern California quarterback, went to Mississippi, played with Lane Kiffin, threw up a lot of stats. I'm just not I don't think this kid's gonna, again, not worth a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tyler Show, Andy, from Louisville.
No
Eh,
knowledge.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't even know Louisville had a team. I'm only joking, but but this is an older quarterback. He's 25 years old. So okay. Quinn Ewers from Texas, Andy. You
No,
may have heard of him.
actually, I know him because I know he's the guy that everybody's waiting to leave so that new management can take over,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's the guy who's everyone's waiting to leave, and he's finally leaving. But Andy, he was supposed to be one of this great quarterbacks, and look, Texas did well with him, but never great with him.
Yeah.
So he's the reviews on him were not good. All right, and then the last quarterback, number five, Andy, Kyle McCord from Syracuse. Ever heard of him?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he was from Ohio State, had a great year with Ohio State, and then transferred to Syracuse, led them to a great thing. But none of these quarterbacks, my point on all those five quarterbacks, they might be serviceable backups, but I just don't see them as your starting quarterback for your team. I certainly wouldn't want to see any of those as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. None of them are going to take over for Dak Prescott. Andy, I just keep going back to this. It's kind of like our presidency. We had Trump and Biden. Those were really the top two people in this whole fucking country.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have 32 football teams. it, there should be 32 good quarterbacks in this country, Andy. We play youth football from like the early stages. How come we have no good quarterbacks coming out? How is that possible? How are half the starting quarterbacks in the NFL disasters? I just don't help me understand this, Andy. I just can't.
Well, there's been a lot of talk this year that this wasn't a QB's year, right? This isn't. And again, there's a couple quarterbacks you didn't mention from the combine that are getting some bigger attention, right? Including Colorado's young quarterback, young Sanders out there. But like, are any of them like game changers? I think for the
Yeah.
whole year we've kind of been saying like, not this year, right? That this was not the year, and that's why some of these guys are coming out because none of them are that great. So if you're maybe not going to be a top 10 draft pick normally, maybe you can be this year and get a chance to start because a team needs a QB, and maybe you can surprise the world, right? Because all these guys think they're the best quarterback or at least going to be able to play in the NFL. And as we know, as you've covered many times, like top quarterbacks just don't make it as far as people think they're going to. I don't know that any of the teams you listed need a quarterback right now to make a difference in how that team's going to look next year, right? They have other things that are broken that they should be probably tackling first. And I think you're not going to look back at not drafting a QB with your first pick and say, "Oh, damn it, we should have taken that guy when we had the chance." I don't see that being like that. I think you can invest in your line, you can invest in your defense, you can get other critical skills players that are going to make a longer difference over time and get that quarterback through free agency or a draft when the right guy's available. And when you're mature enough to bring that guy on successfully, you bring over a second, third level QB onto a bad team who's going to get blitzed and attacked and crushed for a year. You're setting yourself and that guy up for failure.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because again, undoubtedly, what's gonna happen is one of these people is gonna pop, and it's gonna be, can you believe there were five other quarterbacks taking over this guy? I can't believe it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
all good stuff. Andy, I want to hit two more quick ones with you. We got a couple minutes here, so let me just wrap up with two quick ones. One, did you watch the Oscars last night?
Did not.
Okay, all
Conscious
right. So
decision, did not.
yeah, I did not either. Like none of those movies I've even seen. I think I saw Conclave. That was the only one I saw, and I think that won one Oscar. But the big one was because Emilio Perez, the controversy around that. It really, I think it won one or two Oscars, but it was nominated for 13, all the big ones, and Anora was the big winner there. Okay, Andy. So that's kind of what I suspected. I didn't watch much of it
I
either.
will say
So
this, I
that's
just looked up the Oscars though, and I'm seeing a picture of Halle Berry, and she is still stunning. Good,
Oh my God, yes.
great
Yeah.
job. Whew.
They they did a James Bond montage through there, and you remember that scene where Halle Berry's coming out of the water
Yeah,
in a bathing suit, and you're just like, holy hell. So
good for you, Halle
amazing
Berry.
scene.
She's got to be in her at least mid 50s, later 50s.
Yeah, yep.
Good for you, Halle Berry. So I don't care about the
She was
Oscars, but you can have all the awards, Halle Berry.
she was in that John Wick 3 a couple years ago.
Right.
God, she was awesome in that too. So she's a great actress, great, amazing actress, amazing actress. Okay, the other one I wanted to get into is talking a little Trump in sports, but this was I guess, I mean, if you were to put like things down that Trump would naturally do, this would fall into that. And he has agreed to come out, or he's made a statement. I don't think anybody, like, this wasn't a
Absolutely.
political issue or anything like this, but he made a statement that he's going to pardon Pete Rose, and Pete Rose is the greatest hitter of all time. He never bet on his team. He never bet on the game he was playing, and so on and so forth. But this was as predictable as anything else, even though nobody cares about it or whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think he somehow thinks that by pardoning Pete Rose, who did go to jail for betting, which was illegal, and that's what happens when you do something illegal. You go to jail.
Not for everybody, Dave. Not for
Yeah, well,
everybody.
I guess that's fair point. Touche, Mr. Jabor. But I think he thinks it's going to get him into the Hall of Fame. But here's the weird thing, Andy. Just because if he gets pardoned, doesn't mean baseball is going to vote him into Hall of Fame. He broke a baseball rule. They can decide whether to keep him in or not. I happen to think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, but like, this was classic Trump. This is just classic Trump. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw that story, if you even have an opinion, but
I mean, I mean, it's just one of the things like why is the president weighing in? Like he
I
did,
know.
whether you agree with his idea that, hey, I only bet on myself, like I only bet on us to win, like
Yeah,
that's true, but it was still illegal. Like there's no getting around
yeah,
that. I mean, just like I mean, there have been stupid penalties given out to NFL players and others for breaking what one could argue are stupid rules, like you can't, gamble on premises regardless of what you're gambling on, right? But it's the rules. Like he knowingly broke the rules and he got punished for it. Like I said, this doesn't change. Like he can still be voted into the Hall of Fame. Like nothing's preventing that except people not choosing to vote him into the Hall of Fame. Like this isn't a presidential issue. You know what I mean? So maybe
yeah.
this endears some older baseball enthusiasts. I mean, look, if you're under 40 today, unless you're like a diehard baseball, you probably have a vague idea of who Pete Rose was, right? I mean, so like I'm not sure that this is really what we need the president focusing on while we're having crisis internationally. But like, oh, okay, like good for
Um,
the Pete Rose family. Like you're gonna your
is,
whatever he is, patriarch will be pardoned, I guess. Like,
is it good for the Pete Rose family? I don't even know if the Pete Rose family is in agreement with Pete Rose. So
man.
it's so fucking crazy. This is 2025, Andy. We're not even 2 months into a presidency here, and this is fucking madness. So, all right, Andy. With that, we covered a lot. That was a good Monday here, Andy.
Yeah,
So,
a lot to
um,
cover. A lot to cover.
yeah,
Most importantly, I think Halle Berry was my favorite part of that whole discussion. That was
I think you're absolutely right, and I'm in full support of your opinion on that. So, all right, Andy. With that, Wednesday might be a little weird for me, but I think we'll pod on no matter what. So I'm going to try to make it on Wednesday, but if not, I will catch up with you sometime this week. How's that?
that's good. That's good.